and breathe. Beautiful Miami, filthy hot Miami tonight. And England and Norway, they both struggle mightily. England 2, Norway 1, the final. England off to the World Cup semi-finals against either Argentina or Switzerland. Welcome to Bet365 for the win, a beautiful home for the beautiful game. I'm James Sharman, joined by Amy Walsh, Christian Jack, and Gareth Wheeler. All right, everyone, let's get right to it, shall we? Debilitating heat, KJ. We don't often get to enjoy England games. In fact, I can't remember the last time I enjoyed one. But they find a way, though, and we're seeing a resilience, perhaps, from this team that we haven't seen before. What a defensive performance when it had to be today.
Yeah, a couple of takeaways for me was it felt like a knockout game that England in the past have so often lost, where they've lost control in the second half. I thought of Croatia, when it didn't go well for them at that time. I actually thought of Argentina '98, losing a player and then seeing it go against them. A number of knockout games came to mind, where even France in 22, where they kind of just lose control, lose all energy, and just needed a big moment to get them over the line, and they didn't. And today they did, because they had a genuine world-class player who could do that again in a World Cup of stars. England have got a big one in Jude Bellingham, who just finds a way. That was my one takeaway. The second one was the manager. And again, the ability to make key decisions at key times and understand when he got things wrong and how to change it very quickly. On a day where England were mediocre at best in large parts of the game, in many ways melting away in the Florida sun, and some of their hopes to win the World Cup melting with it, you needed a manager like that to make changes. And he had to be forced to make one with Rice coming off at halftime, and I thought he got it wrong. The wide players, he made a bad decision to put Bellingham deeper. He recognized that right away. He put James on in midfield, pushed him further forward. Then when they put Noosa and Bob on and had wingers go pretty quickly and get the momentum the other way, he had James batted right back because that's his natural position. And then they put Rodgers on, and Rodgers was able to create the goal. So on a day where England's players were not at their best, I thought Tuchel was.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing coming out of the Azteca as well. Guts, like character, cohesion, all words that come to mind when it comes to that England performance. Fair play to Norway. A really accomplished team, very difficult to break down, very well managed. But England just found a way. And this is becoming their story at this World Cup, resiliency. You don't ask how, you ask how many. Now, it came fortuitously with another goalkeeping error. We've seen over the course of this World Cup, the ball, when it's hit from outside of the box from distance, is just troubling goalkeepers. Sané Lamens, yesterday for Belgium, KJ, you were there, when he spilled it, Neelan should have taken care of it. It hit him in the chest. He couldn't read the ball. It's a real theme of this World Cup. Like the World Cup ball, when it comes out and is unveiled, and we all like to look at it, and but it has a significant effect on the way that the game is played, and obviously a controversial moment with England scoring their first goal, the ball going off the camera cable. I just wrote 40 years ago, it was the hand of God that sunk England, and in 2026, it's the assist from above. The play should have been called dead. And the ball should never have been in the back of the net. Now, FIFA's saying there wasn't any peak in terms of the device inside the ball, which always obviously was paramount. The decision that eliminated Croatia against Portugal early in this competition. So I guess if it doesn't peak, then you just have to shut your beak. That's kind of what we've learned here. That's the new way that VAR, and this is going to work. So England moves on. It had to be in controversial style, not pretty, but doesn't matter. They don't care. And they're saying to themselves right now, the Swiss, Argentina, bring them on.
Yeah, I think for the three of you being England fans, there was no peak in like the snickometer in that ball and that technology, but it was peak England, right? So it was a disjointed performance. It wasn't pretty, but they're able to get over the line, which is to KJ's earlier point. In the past, you wouldn't see England do that. And in a contest that was billed as Kane versus Holland, neither one of them got very much service. And for me, it was a midfield battle all day long. And I think we might see that a little bit later with Switzerland trying to thwart Argentina and what they have in the middle of the park. But I thought Odegaard was tremendous on the day, and I thought Anderson was brilliant for England. I think Morgan Rogers, again, to loop it back to what you opened with, KJ, I thought that was, I think genius is a little bit of a stretch, but I thought that Tuchel, after getting the initial sub wrong when Rice came off, Bellingham had no business being deep in that midfield. So you push him up, Morgan Rogers comes on. He has that strike from distance where Bob is late to close him down. And I would defend Nyland a little bit here. I think he catches sight of it a little bit late. Yes, he spills it on one that looks like he should claim it and hold it. But I think you have a Bellingham who's just there to pounce and bringing it back to the hand of God. It's the first player to score a brace in back-to-back knockout games since the man himself, Maradona, in '86.
No more terrible zingers from any of you, okay? It's a new rule starting right now. You've
Can't make any promises.
2 minutes. So there you have it. Switzerland, Argentina later today taking on England at the World Cup semi-final. We've got to talk some more Jude Bellingham here, Wheels. I know KJ mentioned a true world-class player. England's had world-class players before for the clubs. They can never transfer over to the three-line shirt, it seems. Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, they couldn't really manage it. Now in comes Jude Bellingham, 7 goals in the World Cup, more than Harry Kane right now. He's back in the Golden Boot discussion once again. A true number 10 or an 8 or a 6. He can play anywhere you want, and Tuchel understands that. But another defining moment, I think, in still a very young player's career.
Yeah, I mean, he had such a quiet season. It was marred by injury, and obviously things kind of went sideways at Real Madrid this season. So it seems like he's coming into this tournament a little bit more fresh, rejuvenated. I think it also goes back to the manager. You mentioned some of the previous England greats. It was how they were being used is a significant problem in this team. The ability for Harry Kane to drop and Jude Bellingham to step and own the space. It's not like Leo Messi because he plays within the structure a little bit more, but he's embraced this role entirely with workman-like players behind him and playing within a solid structure will bring out the best of Jude Bellingham. Like he's a $100 million player for a reason. Like, and I think that maybe some people might have slept on him a little bit coming in to this tournament, but he is as advertised. This is what he's all about. And I give him and the rest of the team a lot of credit because he put in a shift in Mexico City. And I felt like that was one of the major factors in this game. It looked like England just didn't quite have the legs, especially Harry Kane. But Jude just fought through it. He left everything on the field. It's not just the goals, it's the work rate as well. And playing in the steamy condition, the humid conditions in Miami, like this is something that FIFA needs to really reconsider if they ever have a World Cup on this continent. Like a 5 p.m. game in Miami, it's the earliest kickoff that they've had in Miami. It was 4 p.m. on Thursday. It's just for the players' welfare. I mean, I don't care about the viewers at home, to be honest with you. We've experienced World Cups where we're up at all hours of the night and day just watching the football. 5 p.m. kickoff is just madness in Miami. And I just didn't think it did Bellingham or anyone any favors.
You know, Jude was so good that I gave him extra credit for one more goal. He actually has 6 goals so far, not 7, as I mentioned, but still very much in the conversation for the Golden Boot. KG, I know you love a number 10. Different shapes and sizes, from Luka Modric to whoever you like, but Jude Bellingham, he cuts a different shape to what we've seen in England shirt before. He's still, as I mentioned, pretty young, still approaching his prime. How good can Jude Bellingham become?
Well, Bellingham's got that stardust, but a lot of world-class players in the past for England struggled to have when they translated their club shirt to a national shirt. It felt far too heavy. And in Bellingham, it feels light. He just comes alive. And I think he's helped by the modern day game translates at the national level far less, in a sense that I think we're almost 20 to 25 years behind. Watching this World Cup, it's almost like watching high-level European football 20 to 25 years ago. It's less transitional for lots of reasons because of the heat. Teams are quite defensive because there's a big discrepancy in talent. So you don't get a lot of the players, you know, look at Messi in Argentina, that they've hardly scored a transitional goal. But it's also wide players excelling a lot. You look at the way that France are excelling in wide areas in packs, Mbappe moving over to the left-hand side a lot with Doué, and then on the right-hand side with Dembele and Elise ganging up on fullbacks and leaving the centre-back position. And why this is relevant is because the number 10s actually arrive late into the box and are able to pick up what Messi's doing, what Bellingham's doing is getting the space because the wide players are stretching the opposition's defense so much. So it is a little bit more simplistic football. But to answer your question, he is already a legitimate world-class star already. And when you play for the biggest club in the world, and then you play for a national team with arguably one of the biggest pressures in the world, and you go deliver in back-to-back games like that, it's hard to put a thought on a ceiling on a player like that, and even a comparison, because England have had World Cup players in big moments in the past, but as you alluded to at the beginning of the show, rarely have they continued to do it back-to-back.
Yeah, I think that's what's so impressive with Bellingham is obviously he's a world-class talent, but it's his ability to adapt not only whatever club he's playing for and that style of play that the coach espouses, the philosophy, and he can still excel, but then in the England shirt, which seems to weigh heavier than all of the other kits and maybe all of the other nations, just with the expectations that are placed on these players, and particularly a player like himself. So the 2 goals that he scores at the Azteca, talk about pressure, talk about environment and what you're up against in that arena, and to deliver on 2 goals in quick succession in transition. And then to deliver on a goal, I thought that Gordon, O'Reilly, Anderson, left-hand side, at least to start off the game, was where England looked the brightest. You know, you saw Norway really sit in deep, and it was tough to penetrate centrally, either to get the ball to Kane or to find the feet of Bellingham, but he stayed patient, and he just waited for the moment. And then that ball that was squared across from Anthony Gordon, the first touch is just pure class to get it by that first defender. 3 more converge on him, but he's progressing forward. He's into the box, forcing them, almost begging them to foul him. But he's able to get the shot off, a couple of big strides, and he drives it low into that far corner. So it's just a brilliant finish, but a brilliant moment. And that's what he's able to give this squad time and time again. So it's not just Kane and what he does for England in that shirt where he seems inevitable, but now they've got a 1-2 punch where they both are inevitable.
Amy, Erling Haaland's won the World Cup already, just with his personality. The American audience have discovered him now. For the first time, though, at this World Cup, he was almost human today. The heat got to him. He looked exhausted to me towards the end there, was subbed off, in fact. What was it? A poor performance, or was it more a question of Stones and Gay, his 2 teammates at Man City, perhaps knowing him a little bit more than perhaps the other defenders in this World Cup?
Maybe a little bit of both, but I think it would be fair to say that Haaland was poor today. I think that the service wasn't necessarily there for him, but I mean that the tactics that we've seen him employ and like the way he had success versus Brazil and what's become kind of famous now where people are watching him and he's like, oh, he's taking a page out of Messi's book. It's just the walking, and then he bursts into speed and it's this huge hulking man with the speed, the athleticism. He's able to get over a familiar foe in Gabriel. But today it just wasn't to be. He never really threatened. He had that header in the first half where you saw the momentum swing in Norway's favor as the first half ebbed and it whistled for the break, but never really the same type of bite and menace that we typically see with Haaland, where everybody's on their heels anticipating something. So even if he's not the one to get on the board to provide the threat, he's creating space for others because he's pushing everybody back. There wasn't really that. And I think it was because the defenders knew him, they were able to keep him at bay, keep him out of the 18-yard box where he does his best work, but just very few touches. I think out of anybody on the touch or on the pitch rather, he had the fewest touches. So you just have to show up a little bit more if you're Erling Haaland. And so he'll be disappointed because Norway needed him today.
It didn't look like he could give much more, and he's given so much to this World Cup and to that fantastic country. You know, it could have been so different. At 1-0, Soloth had a great chance to play him in, and he was free, all alone. And there was a 2-on-1, and if Soloth had just made that pass, Haaland would have got that moment, and it could have been 2-0, and England.
Maybe just
that was the problem right there. You know, that was the issue for him. So I thought, well, if you can get that goal at that moment and make it 2-0, then it's a long way back at that moment. So that's the chance that he needed. I thought England defended well at times, and he couldn't really get him isolated enough. But like I said, if Sorloth makes that pass and England run the ropes at that moment after conceding, it could have been 2-0.
It was the point I was going to make exactly, KJ. Like Holland never. He's such a different striker than Harry Kane. He doesn't need many touches on the ball. He's so impactful when he gets on it. And I think his teammate in that moment completely betrayed him. The ball needs to get to Holland in that moment. And I understand the praise and commentary for John Stones, the way that he defended it. Still, Sorloth needs to play that ball through. And then it's an entirely different story. And we might be discussing Holland's greatness and Norway's cohesion and resiliency as they'd be moving on. That was the turning point of the game right there for me. So I'm glad you pointed that out, KJ.
It's just nice to hear KJ's, talk nicely about a number 9 that's above 6 foot tall. Generally, he hates the tall. He did many years ago when we discussed such things.
Holland is very different to a big striker. He's certainly not a donkey, James.
He's not a donkey. All right, Dubs, let's talk to you about this England team overall. If you're Spain or France or Switzerland or Argentina, do you fear this England team? I mean, from what I've seen so far, they've shown great resilience, great character. Haven't looked great overall for one match so far this World Cup. In fact, look very passive at times as well. Do they scare you if you're a potential, would-be opponent in the semis or potentially a final?
Yeah, I think that they absolutely do, because this is a team that can be subpar. They don't have to be at their best, and they're still able to eke it over the line because they have the players who can score in those big moments. And players plural, as I mentioned earlier, not just your Kanes, but you've got your Bellinghams, and you've got the strength, I think, in the wings. And I think today we didn't really see it. It was a little bit of a disjointed England. And I think you saw Saka come on, do a little bit more than Madueke, who I thought was quite wasteful in possession. They had that long diagonal from the opposite side center back that was able to go around quite a narrow and compact Norway, but really never translate into a whole lot. But when the wing play is right, there is menace from there, and you get somebody on the ball, and you get those balls into the box, and you have numbers flooding, and the late runs and the well-timed runs from the likes of Jude Bellingham. I think you have, whether it's France, whether it's Spain, and the winner of the match coming up later on, whether it's Switzerland or it's Argentina. They were definitely watching, and they're trying to figure out how they can hurt this team, but they're also paying attention to all of the strengths, because there's variety in the attack, and there's also a lot of venom across that front line.
Yeah, England are a great team. I mean, although big name players were left home, it's full of champions, like top players within the England side. But I just look at France, Spain, England. If it's Argentina, I don't think any of them will fear one another. I think that each one of those sides is confident in their own ability to go out and win and potentially expose mistakes, not only because there's top players and champions in each one of those sides, but also the managers. The quality of manager for those 4 teams is excellent. Deschamps, with all of his experience, he's very much a player's manager. You can see it. It's plain to see. De La Fuente is excellent. He hasn't lost a knockout stage game since he's taken over the Spain job. Thomas Tuchel, his resume, what he brings to the table. I mean, we're lavishing praise on him today, and I think rightfully so. I think he's managed his team really well over the course of the tournament. And if it's Scaloni, it's a World Cup winner, another manager that's he's not going to play with shackles on. Like, none of these teams will. So I think it could make, if those 4 teams end up, the 4 that are in the semifinals, not only the 4 favorites entering the tournament, but 4 teams that will be very confident in their ability, which would make all of these games very watchable. Because oftentimes, James, when it's like a Cinderella team or a surprise team that makes it to the semifinal, the game plays out a little bit different. Now we're potentially, depending on what happens, Switzerland, Argentina, you have 2 heavyweight tilts in the semifinal, which would just be incredible to see. Footballing nations, top players, top managers. You simply can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, World Cups are never won when you peak in the quarterfinals, right? So they were not at their best. And as I said earlier, Tuchel, I thought, was at times at his best to recover from some of the issues that they had. But when you ask if they are at their peak or if other teams would fear them, I would say no. I think if they want to win a World Cup, they have to find, I think, at least 2 more gears. There's a sense from me that they're a moments team, waiting for moments with Bellingham and Kane. They're not a combination team like France and Spain. And if they are going to have to go out and beat one of them in a World Cup final, they're going to have to find, as I said, a couple of gears. They're going to have to be a lot better than this. And the fear is that against both of those teams, France knocked them out in the last World Cup, Spain beat them in the Euro final. They rarely ever find a way to beat them two teams. So I think they've got to find a way to dig deep. Now, they play Argentina in a World Cup semi-final. I could see them beating them because we haven't got time to talk about them, but they've got, I think, some significant holes in the way that they play. And they're another moments team, by the way. But for me, at the moment, they don't look like a team that can win a World Cup if they'll continue to play the way they're playing.
Well, for one night, KG, drink it in, enjoy it. Thanks, mate. You're off now, and we'll chat to you later.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
That is Christian Jack. All right, more football coming your way. The CONCACAF Under-20 Championship. Yes, Canada back in action. You want to know about the kids on the way to the senior team? Watch this. It all starts July 26th. Canada against Panama. Speaking of young players, when we come back, defensively, where is Canada at? We've got some good young players coming through, one of which made a huge name for himself at said World Cup. We'll talk about that and much more coming up for you on the other side.
For the Win on One Soccer is presented by bet365.
The game isn't over yet, but Gary just got paid with Bet365's early payout when his team went up 2 goals. Now, Gary can't stop celebrating. And honestly, we're not even sure he knows how.
Or forever hold it.
Download the Bet365 app and get paid out early when your team goes up 2 goals.
Here. Oh, what a move. That is a quality ball. Now the run into the box.
We were there for your first game together. The day you taught him the rules and the answer for every question. We've been there for the good times and a few moments we don't talk about. And now,
Who won the most Canadian Classics?
it's a passion you can share. And we're just happy we could be there. 20 years, and we're still growing. Together.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Samsung.
This is Our House, presented by Samsung. Defense, the future and the present. Specifically one Luc de Fougerolles, who's made himself look, fits in very well. Let's put it that way, with the Moise Benbitos, with the Alphonso Davies in that back four. 4 starts at the World Cup, plus a very impressive half as well. He's 20 years of age, Wheels. 20. This was a breakout campaign for him. There's no doubt about it. He's only just started playing professional football the last year or so. His stock was going up anyway, but after this World Cup, where does Luc de Fougerolles sit, do you think, in this whole transfer scuttlebutt? And just where does he rate himself and the teams rate him?
Yeah, very impressed. I didn't see performances like that coming heading into the World Cup. I still think that there were significant question marks. How he would handle, taking on accomplished opponents in a high-pressure tournament. The games are a little bit different, and he adapted admirably. I thought he was excellent. Obviously, the data supports that as well. And I think more people are confident about where Canada is at in terms of the center back situation than they were potentially before the World Cup. For him, though, now he just needs to go play regular football at a higher level. I think that the loan move to Dender, I had no idea who Dender was before he made the move. And now they've gone back down to the second division of Belgian football, and I can forget all about them. But I will not forget about him. I think he needs to go on loan from Fulham. I know that Arbeloa has come in. They have a new manager at that time. We'll see what happens to Fulham this season. He just needs to continue to play regular football. It would be extremely demanding and maybe a step too far right now to expect him to play and be ready to play regular first team football in the Premier League. Like the pace of the game, the physicality, it's the expectations, it's just on another level. But I think that staying within the country, perhaps a good championship side could be kind of the remedy, just to get him on the field, play. The games are fast, frenetic. I think that will put him more into the spotlight, maybe in a position to take that next step in the not so distant future. So I think another loan move, just stay within England or the UK, and maybe just take a step down in order to take a step forward.
Yeah, Amy, I mean, we must be a little bit careful, right? I know we like to over embellish and estimate our young footballers. How good can they be? But this kid's been talked about like it's Fabio Cannavaro already. He's 20 years of age. He's good. He's come a long way. We understand that. And he was very impressive, but he's still relatively a raw centre back to deal with here.
Yeah, he is. He's a little bit roughly hewn? That's not a word. He's just a little bit rough around.
It is now.
Rough around. Yeah, it is now. Rough around the edges a little bit, but the composure and the maturity to back it up. This is a kid like when I played and you had people who were being capped and blooded, you wanted to look into their eyes and you didn't want to see fear. And this is a kid who is unflappable. He gets out there and you can see that his teammates have confidence in him, and he plays like a mature, composed veteran. And he's only 20 years old. I mean, we've talked about this a lot. I saw the board myself, but whether it's defensive contributions, his clearances, his tackles, the way he gets stuck in, whether it's on the ground or in those aerial battles, and also how he understands how to cover. He understands who's next to him. We've seen him play against some stalwarts, some mainstays with this men's national team. And no matter who is to his left or to his right, because we've seen him deployed at the left center back position and at the right, more often than not on the right, he does very, very well. So yeah, the ceiling's high and the expectations are also high, but I think this is a kid with more professional football under his belt, more international experience. He's played against a myriad of opponents. I think Jesse Marsch has full confidence in him, but with good reason as well. And at times it can feel frantic, I'm sure, playing in Jesse Marsch's system, especially playing that high line, the press, and you understand that you're going to be put under pressure come the other way with that other team in attacking transition. And he doesn't get nervy. When he's on the ball, he doesn't look to boot it away, and you get into this interminable game of ping pong with the opponent at times. He settles the ball down, and he's quality on the ball. So I think we expect big things from the kid because the proof is there in front of us that, yes, it might look a little bit rough, but all of the quality is there for him to develop into a really, really good center back, whether you're talking international football or, you know, the sky's the limit for where he goes next from Dender, who got relegated to the second division in Belgium.
And at this point, you need minutes for a young player. And at Fulham, you have Issa Diop and Calvin Bassey, who are very good centre-halves in the Premier League. That's not his level right now. What is a good move? Is it go to England to make the step to the Premier League at some point smoother? Or at this point, does it matter where it is in Europe?
I think for me, the championship looks like it's really well suited to him. Wheels mentioned it earlier, but that's what I was thinking as well. Like where he's a really physical center back, he almost welcomes those challenges, and it seems to elevate his game even further. So I think he'd be well suited there. I mean, we've seen some Canadians go there. We know that Alfie Jones, had he not been injured, would probably have made the best 11 for Middlesbrough in the championship himself. I think that is a good pattern. That is a good blueprint for the likes of Luc de Fougerolles, who has a very sexy name, but he plays a very old school brand of center back. You know, he's one of these traditional center halves that you would see come out of England, and now developing with England or with Canada rather, and then playing, this Marsch style of football. I think you bring that, whether you go back in Europe, anywhere else, but I think he'd be really well suited given his qualities, given his upside, his physicality. I think he would slot in quite nicely to the second division in England.
Yeah, I like how you brought up his work on the ball, Amy, because that was the first time I saw him play. It was in an FA Cup match for Fulham, and that was the thing that jumped off the page, his confidence on the ball. But now he's shown he's able to do other things as well, just in terms of using his body. I like how you said playing within the chaotic setup of Jesse Marsch is challenging, and he rose to the challenge. Just something to keep in mind, international football is very different. It's a lot slower at times. He needs to show that he can provide, that he's durable for an entire season. That's why I like the championship as well. It is a lot of games. And even this year at Dender, he was in and out of the team. He was knocked up a couple times over the course of the season. And I think he just needs to prove that he can last and be consistent through an arduous schedule. And you're not going to find a more arduous, more difficult season than playing in the championship. So I just think that's kind of the ideal landing spot.
Is it too soon, Wills, do you think, to start asking about his ceiling compared to, say, a Moise Bambido, who we all think, if he stays healthy, can go as far as he wants to go? Is it too soon?
I don't think so. The biggest difference between the two is that Moise Bambido's 26 and he was a late bloomer. Like, Moise Bambido was playing in a community college in Iowa when he was 20 years old. Luc de Fougerolles featuring as a starting center back in a World Cup for Canada. I just think that they're on different levels. And this isn't a knock on Moise. He wasn't afforded the opportunity. He was a little bit of a late bloomer. He was a midfielder who then converted to playing center back. Luc knows what he is. He knows where he plays. He's come through a very good academy setup at Fulham, and he's being managed in the right way. So he's going to have opportunity that, for me, are just higher and higher ceiling, more importantly, than Moise Bambido. They're different types of players, but for where Luc is at 20 years of age, yes, he absolutely does have a higher ceiling than Moise Bambido.
Interesting. I will go play contrarian, which I often do when I'm on with you, Wheels, and I'll say that it's Moise Bambido who has the higher ceiling. I think Luc, given the fact that he's an academy kid, he came up through it, he understands kind of what he is, to your point, like what type of center back he is, what type of footballer he is, and what type of kind of future footballer he can be, what he can develop into. And not that that's a knock on him, but I think Moise Bambido, what stands out to me is not the long and winding road and how he found himself at community college, playing in the USL, then the Colorado Rapids, and then he was picked up by Nice. It's the blistering pace. And it's the physicality. And if he recovers from this injury, which, you look at how he looked versus Uzbekistan, and I think alarm bells were ringing for a lot of Canadian fans and likely for Jesse Marsch as well. He did not look himself. But given the short window that he had in camp during the World Cup to improve to a point where he resembled at least the Moise Bambido of old, I think he's going to be on a pathway where from Nice and Ligue 1, he could potentially be one of the first defenders for Canada to play in the Premier League. I really do think that his ceiling is that high because the tactical acumen, the understanding of the game, and who he is as a footballer, I think the on the ball and like moving in possession and starting attacks has developed a little bit more for Moise. But I mean, just the amount of pace that he has, the cover that he can provide a team, I think for me, just instantly what's baked in there is a ceiling that's much higher than a kid, even though he's full of promise, like Luc de Fougerolles.
Yeah, Bambido is literally a pianist, right? Literally. Whereas I think Luc is more rock and roll. That's the difference between the two. Very useful. Together, could work very well together, actually. But we thought it would be Derek Cornelius and Bambido for years ahead of us, right? And now there's a new conversation. And it might still be DC. We don't know, but there's young kids coming through there as well. As for the left-back situation, we assume it's Alphonso Davies when he gets healthy, if he gets healthy, of course. But his short-term club career is interesting right now. Bayern Munich have just spent 55 million euros on a new left-back, Nathaniel Brown, a very good player, young player. Now, they already have, we think, we've been told, the best left-back in world football in Alphonso Davies. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, what his position at Bayern Munich is, how it might relate to the Canadian national team moving forward. But overall, it's a very murky summer, shall we say, for Alphonso Davies. Is that fair to say?
Oh, sorry. Didn't know you were into me on this one. Yeah, murky summer maybe doesn't have quite the same ring to it as like other summertime classics, but yeah, it could work. I think, yeah, Nathaniel Brown, the latest that I saw about him, doing a deep dive on the guy that might be taking the starting role away from Alphonso Davies, is he has the ability to be a little bit more versatile, a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, can move into the midfield, be deployed there, or just be one of these left backs that inverts and goes in and provides numbers in the middle of the pitch. That is not what Alphonso Davies is. So I think that maybe that provides a little bit of hope for Davies, but this is the reality of the thing when you're one of the best left backs in the world playing at one of the top clubs in the world, is there's going to be competition for your spot. So this is time for Alphonso Davies to put on the big boy pants and say, I have to go out there and I have to prove my worth. And he has a coach that backs him in Vincent Kompany, who is integral in the new contract that Alphonso Davies signed. And so I think one sort of begets the other, in that Kompany was thought to be going somewhere else. His players back him. And then the reverse is also true, where Alphonso Davies and his position in the team is solidified by a coach who has that belief in him. But now he has to go out and prove it. So only 15 minutes for Canada at a World Cup. Everybody's disappointed. Everybody's asking questions, but he's forecasting forward and he's thinking the future for me. Alphonso Davies, high expectations again, going back to that familiar turn of phrase, but he's going to go out there and have to prove it. And I think the pace has to be there, where the question marks were about that following the ACL, following the time idle with the 3 recurrent hamstring injuries. Can he be as good as he once was? And I think the answer is yes. I think he showed in the time, the little, the moonlighting that he showed before he was re-injured again with Bayern Munich, that the pace is there. The understanding is there. The defensive ability is coming around, even though he is an attacking wingback that gets up and down that line. So I think he'll be up to the task, but it's going to be a tough slog, I think, upcoming for Alphonso Davies.
Yeah, Wills, I mean, listen, I know he's confident. We know Fonzie a little bit. He's a confident guy, but 55 mil for a backup? I'm not sure about that. I mean, do you think he should be concerned about his starting position at Bayern Munich?
I don't think he should be concerned, because Bayern Munich have committed long-term to him by handing him a lucrative long-term contract. But I think when you're at any top club like Bayern Munich, you should be on notice. And I always say this, staying fit, it's a skill. Like, it really is. It's something that needs to be taken into consideration when you're planning your team. And the fact that Davies has been unreliable over the last few years, Bayern Munich aren't just going to do any favors for him just to be a nice guy. They're going to continue to improve and bring in the top young talent that money can buy. And a lot of that comes from within their own ranks as well as from across the Bundesliga. The thing is with Brown is that he can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play a little bit more forward. Bayern Munich expect to go out and challenge for every competition. So whether it's Brown, Stanisic played well when Davies was out last year. They have Bischoff, they have Leimer, they have a lot of fullbacks. So there's internal competition and there's a lot of games to be played. So now it's, to Amy's point, it's up to Davies to be able to stay fit, to stay on the field, because I think when he is playing and when he is at his best, none of those other players can touch Alphonso Davies. But unfortunately, when you're not fit, the team isn't just going to stand still and keep their fingers crossed and wait. They're trying to come up with other solutions. They do it with other positions across the field. Leonard Carl stepped up incredibly well with Musiala coming back to full fitness this year. Like, look, this is part of playing for a big club. I'm sure that this is part of the cloud that hovered over Davies in Canada at the World Cup, is what his future actually looks like. And every decision that was made, probably that had a little bit of a role in it as well. So Bayern Munich isn't going to do anyone any sort of favors here, even if it's Alphonso Davies.
Well, if not a murky summer, maybe a summer of discontent. Maybe that was a better phrase to use, Amy. I don't know. Maybe there's a great left back we can watch domestic rise into ranks on the Canadian Championship. Sunday and Monday on One Soccer. More action for you as it continues. So far, it's been absolutely fantastic. Some great young talent on display in the Canadian Championship. When we come back, that guy, Leo Messi, all 39 years of age, and Granit Xhaka, Argentina, Switzerland. Let's break it down for you. It's coming up in about 20 minutes, believe it or not.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by General Mills. For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Turkey Farmers of Canada.
In Canada, our future stars don't simply show up on the world stage. They are built from the ground up, right here in the heart of our communities.
Oh, lovely through ball there, Isaiah Johnston! Goal for Halifax!
From a childhood dream to the national team.
Jacob Shuffle, good! Yes! He's done it! Canada, let's hope for the footballing world!
We are Canada, driven by Volkswagen.
And for Canada, BMO.
After 20 years of supporting the game, we're actually going to play in one. Let's go! So what do you need? Precision striker, rock solid left back?
We need a coin.
For the coin toss? Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I get it. Can I at least flip it? Heads or tails? I'll do that. We're on TV right now. Yeah.
Hey neighbor, meet Walmart Plus, the new membership that does delivery differently. I'm talking unlimited free same-day delivery, free shipping, and no order minimum. And it comes with a Crave subscription too. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. Try it free for 30 days. Walmart Plus.
For the Win on One Soccer is presented by bet365.
In about 19 minutes' time, Switzerland take on Argentina. The winner gets to play England in the World Cup semi-final, and they'll play the winner, of course, France or Spain. Yes, we're down to the money games here at the World Cup. So let's start with the Switzerland-Argentina game. Wheels. Bet365 have Argentina favourites, -143, but no respect being given there to Egypt or Cape Verde, who really pushed Argentina all the way. Have the bookies got it wrong here, do you think?
The bookies. When do they ever get it wrong, James? and we all know that the FIFA World Cup is fixed. It's Argentina, right? Like, Argentina is going to win it because everyone loves Lionel Messi, including Gianni Infantino. Tongue in cheek. Like, but I've tried to wrap my head around what would have to happen for Argentina to lose this game. And for me, it would just be complete capitulation. That's the only way that Argentina will lose. This team has won 12 games in a row. They've won 11 straight World Cup matches, and each and every one of those games, they've scored 2 goals or more. Like, they are a juggernaut. They are a wagon. And then they're going up against a Swiss team with arguably one of their most important players in Manzambi not playing. They're playing with a stand-in right back who's really a central midfielder in Zakaria. Like, I think Switzerland have done really well. They're a really good team, efficient team to watch. But for me, Colombia blew their chance. Like, I don't think Argentina would have fancied a game against Colombia whatsoever. Just how well those countries know one another, how competitive that would be. The Colombian fans, like, this is going to be an uphill climb for Switzerland. And I just can't see a path to victory for Switzerland. They might score in this game. They might keep it relatively close. But at the end of the day, it's hard not to see Lionel Messi and company move on here.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit inevitable, Wheels, but I do think like the rigid defensive structure, the unsexy football that Switzerland, the tournament football that they seem to excel at, I think it's essential, and I think it's really going to be their path to an upset, as it were. I mean, and you touched on Colombia. Versus Colombia, you didn't see Switzerland give away very many chances, and they were impressive at scrambling to cover, shore up the occasions when Colombia were able to break through. And they were reluctant to push their fullbacks forward, which was strange because Manzambi was out. He's going to be out versus Argentina, so they don't really have that threat, but they sat back, and that allowed the brilliance of Granit Xhaka to take over. So I always love to talk about midfielders, but with this Sunderland man pulling the strings with the short passing, organizing that sound structure around him, And with Argentina being a little bit predictable, playing that central channel, looking for the main man in Messi, I think there is a pathway to victory for Switzerland here, even though it might be boring, but it might prove results.
Do you two ever agree on anything at all on this show?
No.
Has
no,
it been a
not at all.
time? Must be something.
I was going to say yes, so we're even disagreeing on that.
It's all right. Good opinions. I love it when people call a team a tournament team. It means they're really boring. That's what it means, generally speaking. That results. But and the Swiss have been a tournament team, so good for them getting this far. But we'll find out they kicks off in about 15 minutes now, so it should be a good one. Amy, Spain-France on Tuesday. That's it's a match fit for a final, as they say, another cliche in World Cup terms. Who's your tell us player to watch in that one?
Oh, nobody else except for Olise. So in all of the potency across that front line for France, whether it's Dembele, it's Barcola, it's Doué, we know we've got Mbappe, the man behind them who has had success for France playing off that right flank, but I think has found his home underneath that front three. And I think my favorite pass was early on in the tournament. That cheeky little pass through the channel, half space, finds Mbappe for the first touch. He's got a nonchalant brilliance about him where it's off the pitch. He doesn't care to show up for an interview or say a whole lot. On the pitch, he seems to imbue the squad with that same attitude. But if you back off him at your peril, because he will hurt you, whether he's in a Bayern kit where I think he's really found his footing and found a next level now, and he's brought that to Didier Deschamps and this French national team where they were looking for somebody to unlock things in open play, and Olise is their man.
Wills, firstly, do you agree quickly? And secondly, who's your tell us player to watch in this one?
I was just picking the Englishman on France. It's a good equation right now. He's fantastic. I mean, it's pretty incredible. He hasn't found a goal in this tournament, and if he does it in the semifinal against Spain, I mean, it would just be fitting, just in terms of the tournament that he's had. My tell us player to watch. I was interested with looking at the Spanish side, and I was scrolling through my FODMOB app, which is fantastic, by the way. And the highest rated Spanish player is Pedro Porro. That kind of surprised me. He's had a very good tournament. He scored a goal as well. But I think that the French left-hand side is, if there is any vulnerability, it's down there. He really loves getting forward and getting involved in the attack. And that's where I think a player like Luc de Fougerolles can be exposed to a certain degree. A very good attacking fullback, but not great defensively. And Spain, with those overloads down the right-hand side, him pairing up with Lamine Yamal, I think it could be really effective for the Spanish. So at the same time, it's going to be a key game for both him and Cucurella, just when they go forward, because both players love to do that. Not be burned with what's going on in behind them. That's why Morocco was playing it so safe. And quite frankly, a lot of teams have played France so safe because they're worried about Olise and Mbappe and Dembele getting in behind. So if there's an area they can get forward, I think it's down that right-hand side of Spain. So it's going to be a real tactical chess match, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Wheels, France are the favourites in this one, just about. And for the first time in this tournament, not overwhelming favourites. Do you think they should be the favourites just about over Spain there? Are those odds fair to you? France at plus 135?
These odds make me want to back Spain in this game, but I don't think I want to back anything within 90 minutes. And the three-way betting is very difficult, the way that some of these games end up, being played very safe, or teams completely throwing everything at it in the final stages. We've seen a lot of games go to extra time, and a lot of these games have been finishing by just one goal either way. But I think that Spain has a real chance here. Like, no team has a better attack than France. There's no doubt about that. But this Spanish team beat France 2 years ago in the Euros, and they beat them in the Nations League as well. In fact, Lamine Yamal came out and said, I think that the French are worried about us. What are you asking about us being worried about them? So I think there's a confidence in this Spanish group. I also, not just the left-hand side, I think Upamecano, 80 minutes of a game, he's otherworldly, but he's prone to errors. I just wonder if Spain are able to keep the ball and apply a little bit more pressure, whether there might be some hiccups across that French back line. They haven't had a test like the Spanish team. It's really the clash of two really different teams stylistically. So based on plus 210, I think it was for Spain. Yeah, plus 210. I'll back that number over plus 135 for Spain any day, or for France any day, I should say.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure if I see Spain able to hold France and really to contain that threat, especially on transition. But I think, you know, Cucurella, you mentioned, obviously Porro on the opposite side. I think it it makes them dynamic. I really tried to say that word differently there. It didn't come off again. But I think you see Lamine Yamal on the right-hand side and Porro. You're seeing Lamine Yamal really show up and break games wide open. Like, he didn't quite do it. He was really close in the last match, and he's just missing that little bit of something, a little bit of, you know, stardust, a little bit of just something to push it over the line. And he's really close to being 100% again. But I think you saw Pedri get pushed out of the midfield by Ruiz last game. I just don't think that you have Rodri with the mobility that he needs to go against Kone and Rabiot in the middle of the park, and obviously to be able to contain Elise. So I think with all the potency, all of the menace from the flanks, I think the game will be won or lost in the middle of the park.
Tuesday it goes, France against Spain.
I
What a
agree.
match that's going to be. Okay, everyone, with time for a break. Did you guys agree? Maybe. On the other side, the losers, did they flame out in disgrace or bow out in good taste? Tasteful or disgraceful is next.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by General Mills. For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Turkey Farmers of Canada.
We were there for your first game together. The day you taught him the rules. And the answer for every question. We've been there for the good times and a few moments we don't talk about. And now,
Who won the most Canadian classics?
it's a passion you can share. And we're just happy we could be there. 20 years, and we're still growing. Together.
Hey neighbor, meet Walmart Plus, the new membership that does delivery differently. I'm talking unlimited free same-day delivery, free shipping, and no order minimum. And it comes with a Crave subscription too. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. Try it free for 30 days. Walmart Plus.
Canada are really pressing here. Oh, what a move. That is a quality ball. Now the run into the box.
A player Mike bet on just missed an open net tap-in and got subbed off.
I could have scored that in jeans!
Mike doesn't know it yet, but thanks to Bet365's sub-on play-on,
The net was wide open!
his prop bet rolls over to the fresh leg sub coming on. So if the sub scores, Mike still wins.
False alarm, people. My bet's still good!
If your player gets subbed, your bet plays on.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Samsung.
Great news for you. The CPL is back. Yes, it's back in One Soccer this Thursday. Forge against Pacific, and we've got a double header for you on Friday as well. So the CPL back on the One Soccer airwaves starting this Thursday. All right, so after tonight, there'll be 4 teams left, and it's been 44 losers at the World Cup, out, no longer at the World Cup. It's harsh, perhaps, but it's the truth. So it's time for our new favorite segment. My first time doing this, actually. I'm quite looking forward to it. Tasteful or disgraceful? All right, I'm going to give you a team here who's crashed out of the World Cup. Their overall World Cup performance, okay? Was it tasteful or was it disgraceful? All right, let's start with you, Amy. Norway lost tonight to England. Valiantly, gallantly, whatever you want to call it. Was it tasteful or disgraceful overall for the Norwegians?
I think strong row by the fans, overall performance, tasteful. I think it was a really good showing for Norway. I think a lot of people, including myself, and looking at Erling Haaland and his brilliance, and we knew he was going to be involved in a Golden Boot race, but it was dependent upon how deep a run his team could do, right? It was how many games would you give Erling Haaland to be able to pot the goals, to be able to be competitive? And obviously this team is more than just Erling Haaland. I think they gave really good account of themselves. I think they pushed England. They forced England to come up with moments of brilliance in order to beat them and maybe hard done by about, whether or not Bellingham's first goal, did that touch the sky cam? Who knows? But I think the way that they opened up in their group, which was very difficult, they were able to rest superstars in that match versus France. They kind of get it handed to them, but they're able to navigate the round of 32 and the round of 16, and a quarterfinal loss versus England. I think tasteful.
Yeah, absolutely tasteful. I wasn't expecting this from Norway. They got through a soft qualifying group featuring minnows like Italy. I just didn't think that they were ready for prime time. So absolutely the performance, sorry, I had to say that, was tasteful. I do find it disgraceful, though, that a Man City player has now become one of the faces of the tournament. I really didn't need that to happen, but I digress. The team was tasteful. I'll leave it at that.
All right, Wills, Ronaldo said farewell to the World Cup, we think. Was his exit tasteful or disgraceful?
The last performance by Portugal was an absolute disgrace, like absolutely disgraceful. And I think that the manager let Cristiano Ronaldo and company down. Roberto Martinez, wherever his next job is, just bet against that team because he's just not very good. Like, it was such a waste of a tournament for Portugal. And I don't blame Cristiano Ronaldo. A midfield of Vitinha, of Neves, of Bruno Fernandes, just they didn't know where to go with the ball. I just thought that everything was disgraceful from Portugal. The game in Toronto was absolutely tasteful, but the rest of the tournament, disgraceful.
Yeah, I'll say that it speaks to Ronaldo, and I'll say distasteful, because we're talking about other countries, but here we're talking about Ronaldo, the athlete, the footballer. And I think therein lies the problem. So it speaks to the narratives around this aging superstar when we're evaluating other countries' performances, but here we're reduced to judging really the legacy of Ronaldo. So I'll say distasteful.
Amy, you got a hard 15 seconds here, okay? Mexico, they crashed out of England. Tasteful or disgraceful? Go.
Tasteful, I think. I think a lot of these countries, you mentioned 44, that are out at this point because only 4 remain. I mean, they won their first 4 games of the tournament without conceding a goal. And obviously you think about the Azteca and their incredible record there. I think that probably the fans were left wanting, so they might be a little bit harsher, but I'll say tasteful.
Yeah, tasteful in terms of their kits, the Azteca, the Mexican fans. This still was a tasteful appearance at this World Cup, but maybe overrated a little bit. I think that would be fair to say, because Group A and Group B, throwing Group D as well, were all really, really weak.
Absolutely. Okay, let's stay with you, Wills. How about Brazil? Losing to Norway, of course.
Yeah, I honestly thought that their overall performance at the tournament was tasteful. They just ran into a moment that completely turned against them. Bruno Guimaraes, like his missed penalty, just shifted the tides of that game. And Ancelotti brings on Neymar to try to save the day out of nowhere. That decision was disgraceful. But other than that, I mean, they didn't put in a poor performance against Norway. They just got beat by the man down, like Erling Haaland. So I'll go with tasteful. I thought they played some really good football this tournament.
Yeah, I think I'll also say tasteful. I don't know, like I'm not as looking at this through a critical lens, but I think I agree with Wheels there for a change that the Guimaraes penalty, that was a turning point, and had Endrick finished off his breakaway. We're talking about a very different thing here for Brazil, but managed by one of the best knockout managers ever in Carlo Ancelotti, and wanting to play for results versus the beautiful game. I think they were onto something, but just fell short.
And you both agree with that one. You can both agree. Proof right there, even though you're both wrong about Brazil. All right, Wills, Morocco. Morocco, how about Spain? They lost to Spain, of course. in the end.
Morocco were tasteful, absolutely tasteful in this tournament. Just the way that they approach things, the way that they played. Look, I still kind of blame the weather. They couldn't come out and play their game with gallivanting runs and try to play France off the field. They had possession. They just looked like they were so tired they couldn't do anything with it. So Morocco, another really good tournament, another really good story in international football, and will be a team to be reckoned with moving forward.
Yeah, I think obviously this team played even a better brand of football than they did when they surprised at last World Cup when they were a dark horse. But even the best teams can't do it without their best players, and they lost Sabari, and it would really hurt them.
Well done. Thanks, guys. Enjoyed that. Tasteful or disgraceful? Well, listen, that was a fun hour. Off now to KC for all of us, I'm sure. It is Switzerland against Argentina as the quarterfinals wrap up at the World Cup. Cheers for watching.